sure that we're all set for this session. You don't really need anything special. I've got my mat, I've got a blanket, and I've got a chair in case I want to show me options for a chair. Most of the things we do will be perfectly adaptable to do either on the mat, on the floor, or in the chair. One thing that you might have on hand is something with a little bit of length. I don't know if we'll use it or not, but something that could act as a strap. You could use a belt, you could use a towel or a blanket, or a long hoodie or something like that. Just something that you could stretch out at length. Maybe we work with it on the legs a little bit. I'm going to use my blanket if we end up doing something like that. So, when you're ready, why don't we just find a comfortable seated position. Okay, we'll probably start with a few things down here on the floor, and eventually make our way up to stand. Okay, so for now, just seeing what your body needs to feel comfortable for, I don't know, the next 3, 4, 5 minutes here on the floor. Okay, why don't we take a second to just pause wherever we end up, right? And see if you can establish your mindful connection to your body. Right? Feel your seat against whatever surface you're sitting on. Again, if you prefer to sit in the chair, that would work perfectly okay. Maybe shift your weight around so you can feel that stability in your seat. And maybe noticing where your hands have ended up, and see if you can just let them come to rest for a moment. Maybe you can feel pressure from the resting of the hands, or the temperature through the hands. Maybe you can be aware of the length in your spine, right? Do you feel like you're sitting up rather tall, or do you feel like you're slouching a bit, right? You don't have to make any adjustments, right? Mindfulness, remembering mindfulness is just that practice of paying attention, active attention, so you can feel exactly what's arising in your body in the present moment without placing any kind of judgment on it, right? So whatever you notice, you can just let it sit exactly as it is. You don't have to change it. Okay. Maybe noticing the quality of your breathing here at the start. Maybe just noticing the different sensations that you're experiencing as you breathe. As simple as, am I breathing through my nose? Am I breathing through my mouth? And again, you don't have to change this. Just noticing. Can I feel the inhale somewhere in my body, right? Probably somewhere in the torso, right? Is it in the, do you feel a slight expansiveness somewhere? Maybe in the chest, maybe in the ribs, maybe down lower in the abdomen. Maybe you feel it out towards the shoulders, or somewhere in your back. Maybe just taking a few rounds of breath, letting your breath be exactly as it is, and using these few moments to actually see what it actually is. Does it feel slow? Does it feel fast? Does it feel like there's a choppiness to it, a texture on your breath? Does it feel really smooth? Does it feel as if it's not in any kind of rush? Does it feel like there's some kind of space within that cycle of your breathing? Do you notice that your breath might change from one breath to the next? Taking just 2 or 3 more rounds of breath. Noticing perhaps that your mind gets pulled somewhere else in your body. Maybe there's another sensation that is coming to the fore that is really attracting your attention. When you're ready to, you might just lean back onto your hands and let your legs come forward. You might take a second to just shake out the legs. I've already been sitting for a few minutes, so give those legs a chance to open back up. And maybe taking a second to open through the chest. Right? You can lean back and get a little bit of an arch in your spine. Right? Nothing too much, but just to feel the shoulders draw back. Feel the chest open. Feel if there's a little bit more room to take a nice deep breath in. And then when you're ready to come back to that easy seated position, right? You might cross the legs again, or you might find another choice for your seat that feels better for you. And again, let's come back to this relative stillness, and we'll take just a minute to kind of cultivate the breath that we want to carry forward through the practice. One way that I like to start is by exaggerating my breath. So we already took a minute or two to become familiar with the breath, right? Establish our mindfulness, mindful awareness of what the body is feeling, how the breath is moving in the body. So now that I've seen what my breath is, right, at this point in my day, now I can make a decision, right? I can make a skillful decision because I've seen it and I know what it is. Now, are there certain ways I want to adjust it? So the way I typically start is to just watch it and find a connection to it, feeling, and then I might exaggerate the breath a little bit. So I might take a particularly deep breath in. And when I do that, I don't really have any agenda other than taking that breath in and watching how my body responds to it. And that can usually tell me, a direction I might want to go. Okay? So for example, when I took my deep breath in, I can feel my chest lift. I can feel myself sit a little bit taller. So I might want to notice that and use that as a little cue. So now I might intentionally, not just with the breath, but with a little bit of effort within my body, just sit a touch taller, right? And always finding that kind of spot in between. Nothing too tall, nothing too rigid, not too much effort, but not totally lazy, right? Somewhere where I just feel like I'm bringing some awareness and some attention into how I'm holding my body, right? And I can really say that for kind of the fullness of my yoga practice, right? Can I just bring my awareness to my body and follow the little cues and the sensations that come as I try to work with what I find. Okay? And that's a moment-to-moment practice. Okay? So if I take a deep breath in, and I feel my spine lengthen as I sit tall, right? Now what happens on the exhale? Right? What I want to find in my exhale, I want to find a nice long exhale where I watch that exhale taper all the way to the very end. Okay, I don't want to get in the way, I don't want to stop it short. I just want to let it run its course all the way to the end. Maybe a few rounds so you can watch that and see what adjustments you might want to make there. Maybe you're getting in the way towards the end and stopping the breath. Maybe see if you can, again, not particularly actively exaggerating it, but you're giving the breath a chance to really find its full length, which might feel like you're exaggerating your exhale relative to how you usually breathe out. Okay. As you breathe out, can you feel a sense of relaxation, right? We know that our inhale is typically kind of a slight activation within the body, and then the exhale is naturally a slight relaxation within the body, within the nervous system, within your mind. Okay? So as you let that breath out all the way to the very end, can you feel softening somewhere in your body? Can you feel your shoulders perhaps? dropping a little bit of effort, maybe getting a little bit heavier. Can you feel your arms as a whole? Maybe getting heavier, your hands coming to rest a little bit more simply. Okay, now can we kind of follow that whole cycle of breath? So as I breathe in, maybe feeling just that gentle lengthening that might naturally come with that breath, expansiveness. And then that transition where it comes just over the top and kind of falls over into the exhale, right? You might find a slight pause at the top. I usually just find a nice gentle curve where I almost can't tell where the top of the inhale is and where the exhale begins, right? It's really just this smooth transition, and you find yourself releasing the breath again, watching that breath taper out, and then maybe just viewing what happens at the end of that exhale, right? That's where you might naturally find a slight pause in the breath, right? And if you find a pause, feel free to rest in that pause and listen, feel for the sensation of your body telling you, okay, now is when I need to breathe back in, right? But not being hasty in that transition from the end of the exhale to the start of the next inhale. Okay? So taking 3 or 4 rounds of the breath, where you can be aware, I like to call it, this kind of complete breath, where there are these 4 parts that I can continually to watch and feel for. I inhale, I transition over to the exhale, I reach towards the end of that exhale and I see what happens. I might pause, find my body rest in a moment of stillness, and then I can feel my body signaling for the next inhale, and I follow that back up. And sometimes a nice little practice, a nice complete yoga practice might be just pausing exactly as we've done so far, pausing, feeling the breath, becoming familiar with it, and then developing a nice, mindful, nourishing breath, complete breath. So sometimes this might be the perfect kind of 5 minutes that you can use to start your day, or to pause within your day and do a yoga practice. Okay? Let's take it on a little bit more from here. Again, we might want to take a break, right? If you're not used to sitting for long periods of time, again, you can reach the legs out. You might keep the knees bent this time, right? And you can gently drop the knees from side to side. And as we often do in our asana practice, our physical yoga practice, we can find ways to link the breath up to the movement of the body, right? So that helps us remember the breath, helps us to stay on that fullness, that complete breath. So here, for example, I might inhale my legs at center, and then exhale to let the legs drop to one side. Inhale, carefully take the legs back to center, and then exhale, let them drop all the way across. Okay? So maybe following your breath and finding a nice little rhythm here. So the trajectory in my practice could be sitting down, becoming familiar with my breath as it is, and then the next step might be finding the adjustments to my breath that feel good for me to cultivate that complete breath. And then how can I match my complete breath to some movement? Okay, maybe a couple more times to each side. You might be feeling some sensations in the hips or your lower back. And as always, these sensations might suggest that we back off a bit if they feel too intense, or if it feels really nice, it might even suggest reaching in a little bit more, or playing around, getting a little bit more curious to see what else happens, right? Arch your back, lift the hips, open the chest, whatever might come along intuitively to you. Okay? when you're ready to take it back in, again, we might cross the legs. Okay. Find your seat. And again, chair would be a perfect option here as well. Okay. Let's open up through the ribs a little bit more. Now that we felt the breath, can we make a little bit more space for that breath through some of our movement? You could do this the first thing as well. If you want to kind of reach this space in my torso open a little bit so that now I can really start to practice my breathing with a little bit more openness, that's perfectly good too. Okay? But we might start by just bringing the fingertips down to the floor. All right? Another really simple mindfulness exercise. Can you press those fingertips down and notice what sensations start to arise? Not just in the fingertips, right? You might start there and just feel the surface underneath your fingertips. But then as you press down, can you feel as sensations start to move into different parts of your arm? Maybe all the way up through your neck into your shoulders. Right? You might use this opportunity to let the chin drop down towards the chest. Right? So we can start to release tension we might have in our neck and shoulders. And where I usually start is as simple as that. Just letting the chin fall down towards the chest. Right? Coming back to my breath. Maybe noticing the different sensations that come along through the cycle of breath. As I inhale, I might feel a little bit of reach into that tension or stretching sensation in the back of my neck. As I exhale, I might feel that drop away. I might feel it release. I might feel my head get a little bit heavier. All right, so maybe on the first couple rounds, again, it's that getting familiar with what I find in this new position. And then allowing for that intuition to take over. If I find something that suggests maybe turning my head a little bit to one side or the other, right? Kind of lifting the chin one way, the other way, or maybe it's just sitting a little bit taller, or maybe reaching a little actively through the crown of my head, or maybe pressing into my hands. But the constant is staying with the breath. Every exhale giving a chance for that neck to release a little bit more. Okay, maybe one or two more breaths here. Okay. And then whenever you're ready to, you might, on an inhale, roll the head over towards the right shoulder. Okay. And here you can just take that pause and let the head be nice and heavy. Right ear dropping towards the right shoulder. You probably feel stretching sensation over in the left side of your neck. So again, we might pause just to really get familiar with what exactly am I feeling over here? Where do I feel it? Does it feel reasonable? Does it feel appropriate to me now, or do I want to make an adjustment if it feels too much? But again, nice long exhales, letting the head be heavy and dropping over to the right. Okay. And as we did at center, if you wanted to start to play around with this, right? You might notice that dropping the chin moves the sensation around. Lifting the chin will move it in a slightly different direction. Okay. If you wanted to, you could use this opposite arm. So my left arm, what if I press that down into the floor? Now this really intensifies here for me. Might not for you, but that's what's happening here. Okay? I could press those fingers down. I could lift the arm off the floor. Now I'm feeling something different. A little bit more out through the shoulder. Right? I could rotate the palm face up. Now I'm feeling it draw down through this underside of my arm, front of my shoulder. Right? If I turn that hand, rotating it backward, now I feel it up through the back of the arm, back of the shoulder. Right? And I could sit here and just play around with a million different combinations of slight alterations of my head position, slight alterations of the position of that arm, right? That would be my way to actively engage with this releasing or kind of stretching sensation in my neck. Or I could let it be passive. I could just let my head be as heavy as possible and let that arm relax. And just use that exhale. Let gravity do the work. Okay? So wherever you are, maybe a couple more breaths to finish here. Okay. And then when you're ready to, we could take it to the other side. So I usually like to just drop my head back down through center, so I can just letting it go. And then I could inhale and gently roll it over towards the left shoulder. Left ear, dropping towards the left shoulder. I might kind of reaffirm that length in my spine, right? Sometimes when I tip my head over, I might feel like I kind of start to slouch over in that direction. So I'm inhaling tall and then just releasing through the neck. So that right side of my neck is starting to let go. Again, coming into each side with a perfectly open mind, right? We don't just assume that this side of the neck is going to be like the other one. It might be a whole lot different. So we come into it freshly with that open mind and see what's there. What's the reality on this side? And then again, if you want to skillfully meet this reality somehow by making some slight adjustments, dropping chin, lifting chin, maybe tucking the chin in, reaching through the crown of the head. Remember, you could take that opposite arm, so this time's the right arm, maybe pressing it down into the floor. I might notice by pressing through different fingers, I'm getting different sensations through the arm and up into the neck, shoulder back. Right? Reaching actively out through the arm versus letting the arm be heavy, or maybe bending the elbow. Right? If I bend into the elbow, I'm getting a pretty intense sensation through here. So it's like I'm reaching out, right? What if I draw my hand back or roll through the wrists? So maybe you can feel how you can really spend a lot of time here. And what are we doing, right? We're staying with the breath, we're practicing a nice complete breath. And we've got a really accessible mindfulness practice, right? Some fairly prominent sensations that arise that keep my mind present moment to moment in my body. Perfect yoga, right? Don't have to do a crazy handstand or even stand up. A couple more breaths to finish. And then maybe finishing by, again, letting the head drop down through center. This time you might just let it keep rolling around. Right? I find a nice, easy way to finish a practice in releasing the neck, not by hauling the head back up, but just letting it roll around. Right? Letting it guide itself. And then eventually having just the kind of gentle aim of bringing the head back to a position where it feels like it's balancing on the top of your neck. Right? So I don't have to rush to get there. I can just let the head move and almost like it's on its own course, finding its way slowly to that point where it feels effortlessly perched up there. Right? And then you can take a pause in your seat. Maybe a couple more breaths. Shoulders nice and relaxed. Okay, nice work, everybody. Okay, so moving on from here. Let's do one more thing. I know we've been on the floor for quite a while, but let's give ourselves a chance to Again, reach out the legs if you want to. Okay. Last maybe 2 things we'll do down here. Okay. Come back in. Okay. Fingertips reaching out to the floor again. Okay. Find your breath. Okay. And then as you inhale, right arm can sweep up overhead. As you exhale, maybe taking it up and over to the left. And maybe pausing here. Breath continues to move, but we can pause in this new shape and see what we find here. Right? Am I finding an opening or a stretching sensation in that right side of my body? Right? Do I want to keep that arm reaching long? Do I want to bend at the elbow? Am I squeezing too much tension into my neck? Can I let that shoulder be fairly relaxed? When I breathe, can I feel how the breath naturally moves into this space over in my rib cage? Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. So you might inhale to drop the arm and lift that left arm up. Sit nice and tall. As you exhale, reaching up and over. As we've been doing, maybe a breath or 2 or 3 to see what you find here. And then if you want to make some sort of adjustment. Okay. And then let's move on the breath. Right? So as I inhale, I can switch out the arms. As I exhale, I can reach. As I inhale, I can switch out the arms. As I exhale, I can reach. Okay. So find your own pace here and see if you can follow this movement without speeding up your breath, right? You might find yourself just kind of rushing into it, and all of a sudden, I've lost my breath and I haven't really given chance for a full inhale or a full exhale. Doesn't mean that the breath can't speed up, but just make sure that you stay with that fullness. If you want to adjust the position of that top arm, right? What happens when you reach slightly forward? I feel it in my back. What happens when I take it slightly back behind? I can feel it across the front of the shoulder and the chest. Most importantly, can I just make it feel good? Maybe this is your last round. And then you can make your way back up. All right. Let's take an inhale and sweep both arms up. Right. And then as you exhale, can you twist to the left? Right. You might take a second before you use your hands or your arms to feel what muscles in your center help you twist. And then when you're ready to, you can drop those hands down. Maybe the right hand reaches to the left knee and the left hand maybe finds the floor back behind you. And then see what those hands can do to help you find a twist that feels just that much better for you. Maybe it helps you sit a little bit taller. Maybe it helps you reach a little bit further in, particularly as you exhale and you release the breath and you make a little bit more space in this center part of your body. Maybe the twist using the hands helps you to take that back shoulder and roll it back a bit so you can feel this opening across your chest. Right? Being careful with your neck. If you feel like there's enough openness in your neck to turn the head, you could even start to look back behind you. But don't force anything. Last breath on this side. And then you can let the twist go. You can come back to center. Right? Sometimes I pause to shake it out a little bit. Right? And then maybe take an inhale, sweep back up. This helps me remember to sit nice and tall, and then exhaling, twisting to the other side. I'm going to twist to my right now. Take a second and feel that twist. Feel the work I need to do. And then drop the hands down and give that little extra touch that helps me position myself a little bit more appropriately. More breaths to finish on this side. Okay, and then we can let it come back to center. Right? Maybe hands to the knees again, just a little bit more shaking out. If you like to do the seated cat-cow, you could inhale, open the chest, exhale, round your spine back, maybe drop the chin. Sometimes a few of those is enough to just bring everything back to center. Okay. So from here, from your seated position, right? Why don't we make our way all the way up to stand? And why don't we do it this way? Okay. You can lean over onto one hip if you're seated on the floor, and then you can come onto hands and knees. Okay. You can tuck the knees down. You can come up through a downward-facing dog. Okay. So again, options for you. You could lift right up into your downward facing dog, right? And probably with the knees bent to start, so you can reach that length into your spine, maybe straightening one leg at a time. If you want to stay on your knees, you could just come back towards child's pose and reach the hands forward out in front and get that same length in the arms and through your back. If you're in your chair, right, you might make your way up behind your chair, and you can just walk your feet back, reach into the chair, and you can find that you can see in the video perhaps the same exact shape, really, right? I still have a bend in my knees, reaching length through my arms and my spine, right? If I take this and just rotate it down to the floor, it's about the same thing, right? So nothing wrong with using the chair instead of coming down to the floor. See what works for you. Maybe take a couple more breaths here. Okay. Then when you're ready to make your way to the top of the mat or to the chair, just take some little steps to walk your feet up towards your hands. If I'm at the chair, I'm just walking my way forward, right? And then I can stay here in my forward fold. Okay? If my lower back feels okay with it, I could let my upper body just hang. My hands might reach the floor for a little bit of support, or I could grab opposite elbows, maybe swaying side to side. I might still have a nice bend in my knees, especially if I'm feeling this in my lower back. Okay? Alternatively, I could support myself on my knees, right? I can have a nice long back, especially flattening through my lower back so it doesn't take any strain. I can still drop my head down and get that release through my neck and my shoulders. Right? Wherever I am, I'm staying with that cycle of breath. Right? So I still have that nice full inhale and a nice long exhale. And I might come back to feeling what we were noticing earlier, just simply at the seated position. As I inhale, I might feel a slight activation. As I exhale, I might feel a relaxing or a letting go. Okay? A couple more breaths here to finish. Okay, and when you're ready to make your way up, if you're released all the way down, you might support yourself as you come up halfway. Maybe pause there, maybe press the feet into the floor, feel the muscles in your legs engage. Right? Same when I'm at the chair. And then when I'm ready to make my way, the rest of the way up, just carefully rolling my way up to a standing position. Okay? When you get there, right, allow yourself a little bit of movement, let yourself feel comfortable standing. probably towards the top of your mat. And from here, let's see, maybe we move through some warrior poses. Okay, let's start in our Tadasana, right? Perfect pose to practice some gentle mindfulness, right? Can I feel my feet reaching to the floor, right? As we did with our seat at the beginning, do I want to just shift my weight slightly, side to side, a little bit forward towards the toes or back towards the heels? Just to really make that kind of keen connection through my body so I can feel exactly what's happening. I don't have to look at my feet, right? Can I press down and feel through the different parts of my feet? Okay? And then, can I press down through the feet to feel the muscles in the legs engage? Muscles around my knees, my thighs. Right? As I keep pressing down there, I might find a lifting up through the top half of my body. Right? Gentle lift through my chest, gentle reach through my neck, up through the crown of the head. Right? Maybe even a reach out through my fingertips. And as we did earlier, nothing too extreme, nothing too rigid, because then my breath feels constrained again, but nothing, right, really apathetic and lazy, because now I don't have any room for my breath. So following my breath into a position where it feels like it's supported. Okay, let's move a little bit with the breath as we've been doing before we step into warrior one. Okay, so maybe on an inhale, you can sweep the arms all the way up. Reach nice and long. You get to the top. If something comes forward in your body, like it still wants another side stretch, or it wants to round forward, or take the arms out wide, or open the chest. Right? Find whatever feels right for you. Right? Allow yourself that opportunity to kind of go off the trail. Right? If you're finding something interesting. When you're ready to, you might wait for an exhale to come around, and then as you exhale, you can release back down into your forward fold. Right? Again, if you're working with the chair, inhaling up, you might just come down halfway, or you might release all the way down. Okay? When you're ready to make your way up, that will be our inhale. Just be careful of your lower back. Right? Inhale, pull your way all the way up, maybe moving a few times like that. Exhaling all the way back down. Find the end of your breath. As you inhale, all the way up. Exhale, all the way down. Okay. Maybe a couple more rounds. Next time you find an overhead stretch, let's pause there. Okay. But keep the breath moving. Okay. And then on an exhale, you could bring the palms of the hands together and gently follow the hands back down to your heart. Okay. Taking a moment to pause here, you might roll the shoulders back and release them down. And then let's go ahead and we'll move to, let's do some balancing on the way. Okay? So let's move the weight over into the left leg, right? You could come out of the left foot, right? You could draw that, or you could lift the right foot and draw the knee nice and high. You could keep the right toes down to the floor, right? If you have your chair, you could keep a hand on the chair. Or a wall. So, whatever's working for you, take a little bit of time to get familiar with how your body's balancing today. Okay. And then from here, we can add in a little bit of movement, as we've been doing, right? So I could inhale to lift the foot. I could exhale to start to reach it back. Inhale, take it forward. Exhale, reach it back. Okay. If I want to, I can keep my toes on the floor the entire time. Inhale, slide it forward. Exhale, slide it back. Right? Options all along the way. Okay. Maybe a couple more times. If you really want to start to work a bit more, you could reach it way back. You could really powerfully extend through that heel. You could lift the knee nice and high. One of these times, when you're ready to step that foot back, reach it back, and eventually you'll feel the floor back there behind you, right? And we can come into our warrior one. Take a second, find a stance that works for you. What we're looking for is that knee just about over the ankle. Right? Maybe bending a few times to see how that knee feels. Back foot, you could plant the heel and turn the toes outward. When you're ready to, can you take your chest and shoulders and square them to the top of the mat? Okay. You'll feel that rotation in your hips. If it feels too much on the front side of that right hip, you can always lift that right heel off the floor, and that will allow you a little bit more freedom to turn. Okay? So wherever you end up, nice stability through the legs. Can you actively press the feet into the floor so you feel all these muscles in your legs supporting you? Okay. Palms of the hands could come together at the center of the chest. You could take an inhale. You could sweep the arms up overhead. Right. Try not to squeeze too much tension up into the neck, right? Let those shoulders release down as you reach. Back to your breath. Can you keep the breath moving as smoothly as we did when we cultivated it initially? Nice full inhale. Exhale that you follow all the way to the end. Okay. And then let's go ahead and where should we go from here? Let's just take it straight to warrior two. Okay. Let's come out of this first. Right? So you can find an exhale where you release. You can straighten that front leg and release the arms down. That gives that leg a chance to recover a little bit. Okay. And then maybe we take the hands to the hips, square chest and shoulder to the side. Okay. And then bend back into that front knee. Okay. Warrior two. Legs are going to be in about the same position. You might adjust the feet to help you feel a little bit more situated with the shoulders square to the side. When you're ready, same thing, press down through the feet, strong legs. Maybe an inhale to sweep the arms up shoulder height. Or alternatively, palms of the hands could be at the center of the chest. If your neck feels okay, you might even turn the head to gaze towards that front hand, that left hand out in front of you. Gazing forward, right? Can you still be aware of the back side of your body, right? I'm still pressing through that back foot. I'm still reaching through that back arm. Okay, last breath here. And then as you exhale, straighten the front leg, release the arms. Okay, let's go ahead and step it back up to the top of the mat. See if you can do this by taking a mindful step. If the step feels too big, you can shorten your stance a bit, but then shift your weight. Step that right foot forward. Maybe palms of the hands back to the center of the chest. Okay. And then when you're ready to switch sides, remember we started with that balancing, right? So I'll take my weight over into my right leg and coming out of the left. Right. Maybe float the foot. Try all kinds of things. You can reach the leg out to the side. You can reach it out in front. You can circle. Okay, when you're ready to move with the breath, right? That inhale might take the foot forward. Exhale might reach the foot back. Again, and see if you can do this without rushing the breath. And as we did on the other side, when you're ready to step that left foot back, reach it back. Find the floor back there, set the foot down. Same as we did on the other side. Bend into that front knee, make sure it feels okay. You might bend it all the way over the ankle. If that feels too much, you can always take a shallower bend. Right? But finding your warrior one on this side. Remember, squaring chest and shoulders to the front. Palms of the hands can come to the center of the chest. Legs strong, feet pressing down, maybe sweeping the arms up overhead. You can take one more breath here. Nice full inhale. And then an exhale to straighten that front leg and release the arms down. Okay. Warrior two. Squaring chest and shoulders to the side. Bending back into that front knee. Adjust the feet if you need to. Thing you might try to remember right here before we start to make the pose any more complicated. Can I keep this nice vertical spine? Right? Because when we come into our warrior two, there's this tendency, it's like this forward leaning pose. Right? Like I'm going this direction. But I want to keep my spine centered over my hips. Okay, so before I turn, and before I start really emphasizing one direction perhaps, can I find myself here at my center? Maybe palms of the hands come together to help you. Roll the shoulders back, we still want that opening through the chest. And then when you're ready, maybe the inhale to sweep the arms out. Remember, if your neck feels okay, you could gently turn the head and take the gaze out loosely past those right fingertips. Don't forget about the back arm and the back foot. Steady breath, eyes nice and still. And when you're ready to come out, maybe one last inhale to reach and press, and then exhale to let it go. Feel the relief in the legs, relaxation through the arms. Okay. When you're ready to step it up, same as we did on the other side, you might shift your weight forward, step that left foot right up into place. Right. And then let's take an inhale, right? Come back to center. Sweep the arms up, press through both feet. Exhale, release the hands down to the heart. And maybe again, inhaling up. Exhale, hands to the heart. And then maybe one last time. Inhale. And then exhale. Okay. Let's take a pause here. Right? I can bring a lot of effort up in those poses. Maybe placing a hand over the heart. Feel the heartbeat. Okay. Other hand might be right below your rib cage. Right, so now I can feel my heart beating. I can feel my body breathing underneath the hands, expanding as I breathe in, softening, relaxing as I breathe out. Good place to pause and just witness the slowing down of the body, the effortless slowing down of the body. Right? I don't have to do anything here. I just pause and enjoy that settling back out. Okay. 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, let's take it down to the floor. We you can finish with a twist and our relaxation. Okay, so you might finish by taking one more inhale to sweep the arms up overhead again. Right, if there's anything else to shake out before you come down. Right, sometimes I drop my hands back behind my neck and I get a nice extra stretch down the backs of the upper arms. Whenever you're ready for your forward fold, you can wait for that exhale and you can release down, right? If you want to take it in stages, maybe you start with the hands on the knees or the forearms on the thighs, and then maybe eventually you're dropping the head and rounding the spine. Okay, but make sure it feels okay for you, right? Most important thing, probably dropping the head, releasing any of the tension you might have picked up in the neck and the shoulders. And at this point in the practice, when we're starting to wind down, okay, a nice long exhale, right? That's our signal to the body that it's okay to let things go and just start to slow down and switch over into relaxation mode. Okay. So if I find an inhale, I might see if I can stretch my exhale out a little bit longer. One more breath here. And then on the exhale, you might find a little bit of support and make your way down to the floor. Okay. Now, we'll come onto our backs to do the twist. Okay. So I'm going to rotate so you can see that. Okay. When you're ready, you can release your way down. It might feel good to gently draw the knees into the chest, right? You might rock a little side to side. Okay. And then when you're ready to, you might keep the right knee in towards your chest and allow that right leg or left leg to reach out nice and long. Okay. You might stay here, right? Getting a little more reach into that right leg, right hip, right glute. When you're ready to take it into your twist, just rolling over onto your left side and taking that right knee with you. Right? Dropping over to the side. You might want to adjust the position of your hips to feel nice and long through the spine still. You might take your right arm, reach it up towards the ceiling, and then as you exhale, dropping that arm over to the right. Left hand might be gently resting on the outside of that right knee to just give it a little bit direction over towards that left side. Doesn't have to reach the floor, right? Just giving it a little direction over to the left. Right arm reaching out. It might be floating off the floor. As you exhale and as the body starts to open, right, that right arm might get a little bit heavier and fall a little closer to the floor. But this is a good opportunity to just find a passive positioning for the pose, right? I don't have to bring any real active energy in here. I just need to orient my body into the shape, and then I just follow my breathing. I still have a nice full breath in, and again, most importantly at this point in the session, nice long breath out. Okay. Maybe one more breath on this side. And when you're ready to switch sides, carefully make your way back to center. Right. You can draw the knees back in. Right. If you need to shake it out in between sides. And then this time, we're going to keep the left knee into the chest. Release that right leg out long. And when you're ready, you can roll over onto your right side. Take your left knee with you. Okay. Again, adjust the position of the hips if you need to. You could take the right hand and just gently rest it on the outside of that left knee. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling, and then as you exhale, dropping the chest open. Staying with your breath. You might notice, or you might just follow the small movements that come along with the changes in the breath. As I inhale, take a deep breath in, my left arm lifts back up a bit. As I exhale, it falls back down towards the floor. I don't have to bring that effort in. I can just watch how the body naturally moves. That's my mindfulness. Okay, last breath on this side. When you're ready to release, again, carefully returning to your back. Okay. Carefully drawing the knees into the chest. You can hug the knees in. You could rock a little side to side. Right? You could circle the knees one way, the other way. Might feel good to separate the knees and circle more through the hips, allowing for that release through the hips and the lower back. Okay, and when you're ready for your relaxation, you could just release the legs and set the feet to the floor. Relax your arms to the side. Okay. You could reach one leg out long and then carefully reach the other leg out long. Right? If this starts to feel uncomfortable on your lower back, you can always keep the knees bent with the feet out wide and let the knees fall in to support each other. That should help reduce strain on the lower back. If you prefer, you could come up to a seated position. All right. Same position we started with, an easy seated pose. And we'll take a couple minutes here to allow for some full relaxation through the body. You might notice the stillness in your body. You might notice the support you're getting from whatever is underneath you. And really encourage the body as a whole to let go, to kind of surrender and be held by that support. You might scan through the body, notice if anything is still holding on, any kind of gripping or any kind of effort that's left over. You might take an inhale and then an exhale to really encourage some additional letting go or some softening, relaxing of that tension or effort. Even the breath, you might even just let the breath go now. Right? Not worrying about a deep breath in, not worrying about a long breath out or any transitions in the breath. Just letting your breath find an effortless rhythm. Right? And that might be your point of observation. Right? As you take this final position and let yourself relax in a position of ease. Just noticing how good it feels to just let that breath be free and allow yourself to rest as simply as you can. from your position of relaxation. Right? Don't be in any rush to make your way out. Okay? Take your time to come back into your breath. Remember, the inhale can help you to activate. So you might take a nice deep breath in. You might reach with it. You might find a nice little stretch. Okay? And then wait for that intuition of your body to come forward to help you find whatever kind of stretching, twisting, lengthening, rounding feels good for you. Okay. Take all the time you need. Beautiful practice. Well done. When you're ready to close, you might take the palms of the hands together and just give yourself a moment. Right. Give yourself a chance to, as you move on, wish yourself well, as best you can, wishing everybody else well. Namaste.